No one understood why she froze when she smelled burnt coffee, until the sergeant made the mistake of touching her. And 1 minute later, the entire courtyard watched him hit the ground like a felled tree. The heat of noon blazed over Camp Northfield, turning every metal surface into something you could fry an egg on. Soldiers hurried across the training yard, staying out of trouble, except Sergeant Alden, a man known for baiting anyone weaker than himself. And today his eyes were locked on her. Private Liana Graves, the quiet marksmanship prodigy who kept to herself, kept her head down, and kept every memory carefully sealed away. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Alden stomped toward her with a steaming mug in hand, pretending to sip while glaring over the rim. The air tightened. Even the rookies sensed something was about to snap. Liana stood still, her fingers twitching at her sides, heart thumping against old scars she never explained. Then, without warning, Alden tipped the mug forward. Boiling coffee poured down her head and neck. She didn't scream. She didn't flinch. She only inhaled, slow, controlled, though the pain seared like fire dancing on her skin. The entire yard went silent. You could practically hear the dust settling around boots. Alden laughed, a deep, mocking rumble that bounced off the concrete. But beneath her composure, something cracked open, something she had promised herself she'd never let out again. She thought she'd never face a man like him again. She was wrong. Liana lifted her head, her eyes were dry, her jaw steady. But her pulse thundered like distant artillery. The heat of the coffee trickled down her collar, but somehow her presence grew colder, sharper. Some recruits backed up, stepping away from the invisible pressure rolling off her. A medic shouted that someone should intervene, but nobody moved. Even the flag above them barely fluttered, as if the wind itself was waiting. Alden leaned in closer. "What?" "Gonna cry, Graves." She didn't speak, she simply shifted 1 foot back, grounding herself. Her training sergeant, Captain Delmar, recognized the stance instantly, the stance of someone about to end a fight before it began. His eyes widened, but it was too late. Alden reached for her shoulder. That was the final line he shouldn't have crossed. Liana's left hand snapped up, redirecting his arm with a twist that made onlookers wince. Her right elbow struck his sternum, fast and silent, and before his lungs even understood they'd lost air, she pivoted and delivered a clean, disciplined strike to the side of his jaw. A single sound followed, a deep, heavy thud as Sergeant Alden dropped flat onto the scorching pavement. The recruits gasped. Someone shouted. A couple of seasoned corporals rushed forward, forming a perimeter the way soldiers instinctively do when chaos erupts. Captain Delmar sprinted out of his office, but stopped dead when he saw Alden unmoving, and Liana standing over him like a pillar carved from stone. For a moment, no one knew what to feel. Was she wrong for fighting back? Was she right for defending herself? Moral tension hung thicker than the heat rising from the ground. Liana closed her eyes, breathing through the burn of the coffee still tracing her skin. Then she turned to Delmar and said, voice steady, "Sir, I will accept whatever disciplinary action you decide. But no soldier deserves to be treated like that." The yard shifted, heads nodded. Even the toughest veterans felt something stir, respect, maybe even shame that they hadn't stepped in first. Delmar knelt beside Alden, checked his pulse, then stood. "Private Graves," he said loudly, "you acted in controlled self-defense under provocation. You did nothing wrong." The crowd exhaled in a single wave. An unexpected warmth filled Liana's chest. Not pride, not victory. Something gentler, the relief of finally being seen. Later that afternoon, as medics carried Alden off, and the sun softened its glare, soldiers approached Liana, in small groups. Not to gossip, not to pry, but to thank her. To thank her for showing what quiet strength really looks like. Because sometimes justice doesn't come with loud speeches or grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in the form of someone who refuses to break. Because courage doesn't shout, it stands, and it stays, even when the world tries to burn it away. And somewhere in the smell of cooling coffee, Her story found its beginning instead of its end. If this story moved you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful tales. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Your voices keep this channel alive.